I'm going to show you how I made this in 3D Coat. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty easy for almost anyone to do. And I also use Blender for some part of it. And I also use Blender for all the renderings and animations I do. So let's get to it. Okay, so first thing you're going to have to do is model a simple shape of the candelabra. And you can do this in Blender or other programs. Now I'm importing this OBJ into this scene um, just because the cursor is right in the middle and the axis points are all pointing at the cursor, and that's kind of important here in a second. Now what you're going to have to do is go to Set Origin and go to Origin to 3D Cursor. So now the origin of this object is right here, and I'm going to have to go to Set Origin, Geometry to Origin. So this centers it so it's right on the axis here. And this is important for bringing it into 3D Coat. I can actually raise this, but I don't have to. I could keep it right there. So I'm going to go ahead and export this, and I'll go into 3D Coat. So now that I'm in 3D Coat, I'm going to go ahead and import that model into Blender. The centered one. Now it's so small you can't see it, so you got to scale it up. And because it's centered on the x-axis, everything's split. And that's very important here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this. And I'm going to press S and click X and Z. And this makes everything so when you work on one side, it flips everything on the other. And you'll see that in a second here. But I'm going to go ahead and smooth this out right now. And if you can tell, it's smoothing it out on every sections. So I smooth here, it smooths it on every other part. Or on the flip side at least. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is add some details here. And I'm going to go ahead and click extrude, and I like this brush. And just do stuff like this. You see it flipped it on the other side. So everything I do looks all symmetrical. I'm also going to try out this build. Just add a little bit of minor detail here. Well, I don't know. At first I thought I was going to undo this, but I actually kind of like it now. I may have to smooth that out. Well, I don't know. I kind of like it. Anyway. So when I do this on the other side, it's adding it. And I might add some of these spheres here. Oops, not there. I'm trying to get out of the symmetry thing is messing up my viewport for a second. Ah! Oh no, I guess it's the sphere itself. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, I kind of like that. I like that ball thing. I'm gonna go ahead and do more of those. Oops. See, usually when you do this viewport navigation, you left click to move. So when I do it in the sphere mode, it's actually adding spheres. So I guess you're gonna have to click to extrude, and then you can move around in the viewport. So that's why I was making that mistake earlier. kind of like that. That's too much. But this extrude, you just keep adding this detail here. This looks really cool when it becomes full metal. I'm just going to keep adding more and more detail. Okay, here's what I finished. It might be a little too ornate, but I kind of like it, and I'm going to see how it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to paint mode on this, but before I do, I'm going to turn off the symmetry. Just because I don't know if it messes up paint or not. So on the paint section, I've got all these different materials that 3D Coat comes with on their website. They also have more materials you can download, and when you select a lot of these materials, you have to do these curvature and ambient occlusion calculations if you don't know. And these are automatic. And you can kind of see here in the viewport this smart material preview. That looks pretty cool. I actually like to just go ahead and apply it and then look at it. I mean, that looks so cool already. Wow. Anyway, you know, I think I'm actually gonna go with this, but I'm gonna add some other stuff to it. I'm gonna add some dirt, just because I like adding dirt to most things. Yeah, that looks really cool. 3D Coat's materials implementations so well done. So this dirt kind of gives it like an antique look. This is too much down here. I'm gonna go ahead and erase that. This is too much dirt. I like it on these bigger details down at the base and the top. And another thing I like to do is change the opacity. That way you can kind of go over a few times, kind of fade it in and out. Oops. I'm clicking basically a bunch of times here to kind of tweak how it looks. I don't know if I like that. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and erase some of this dirt from these spirals. I like how these spirals look when they're cleaner. But yeah, that looks so cool. I might go ahead and add a little sprinkling of like silver metal, just to make it seem like, I don't know, maybe it's gold plated or something and it's worn at the base. And I'm going to have the opacity at like 20% here. Oops, I'm not sure if I created a new layer, but you should create new layers just as a general practice, because you may look at it and then want to just delete one of the layers. Be like, I don't really like that feature added. You know, for example, if you didn't like the dirt layer, you just turn it off. So that looks kind of cool. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's the base isn't completely gold or something. Let's see. What else could I add to this? You know, it doesn't make complete sense in terms of gold. You know, gold doesn't rust. But I actually would like how this rust material looks on here. Especially these spirals. It just looks like a different kind of dust or something. So I'm applying this. I may have downloaded that from 3D Coat's website. I don't remember if that came with it or not. It just looks like, I don't know, some kind of grungy dirt. I usually like making things look a little grungy. I can't even see it down here. Oh, I can see it a little bit. Yeah, I like that though. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and export this. I like how this looks. Well, let's just see how this brush looks here. I can't really tell. So the way I export these things, and there's a few different ways to do it, but one way I find this just easy that I don't have to think about it much, is I just go right click, go auto topo, instant meshes auto. And I always do 100,000, almost always. If I do any more than this, it crashes my computer. Sometimes I do 70,000. On rare occasions I do 20,000, but I don't really like the quality when it's 20,000. I really like the quality of the 100,000, even though it's a big file. Blender seems to be able to have a lot of big objects in one scene. And I remember when I was younger using other 3D programs, I used to not be able to have that many polygons. And I don't think it's just the computer, I think it's also the software. So now that this is done, you're gonna go bake with normal nap. Okay. Now I always click the 8,000. Some people say it's too high. I like it. Okay, when that's done processing, I'm gonna go up here to UV, and you see that it's calculated everything, and over here you've got all these shapes. Now you're ready to export. So I'm going to go ahead and export these objects, and you're basically going to choose the geometry and the texture folder and go ahead and click export, and I'll do that in a second. Okay, so once I apply the materials correctly and bring this into Blender, this looks really cool, and this is the final product.